after reading this, knowing what other towns do, everybody can kind of just put their thoughts together and somebody can motion for whatever after that. Somewhere, as you were apologizing, I just wanted to make sure we keep this up.
At the point I was instructed to petition, at the point I actually did petition, that's when the decision was no longer yours. It was up to the people and the residents of this town. You are elected and chosen by the people of this town. You work for the people of this town. You are paid by taxes of the people of this town. When a petition is formed, again, mind you, the rules are pretty vague, to virtually none, other than needing 7 signatures to enact a petition and to get it approved. When the public spoke with more than 3 times the amount of required signatures needed, the decision is no longer yours. At that point, there could have been, can I finish my statement?
Okay.
At that point, the decision could have been yours to enforce inspections, to enforce different things or suggestions for a petition. But the petition was made the way it was. Hindsight, things could have been changed differently, could have spelled out differently. There could have been further discussions. The city could have worked with people on this petition, but they chose not to. This body was brought forth a petition of 23 signatures of how this was written as a whole. Regardless if there are inspections required or not by police officers or by this body or by whoever, however this petition was written up, if you like it or you don't like it, is irrelevant. The petition was signed by the public with more than 3 times the amount needed to pass a petition. So at that point, the decision is no longer up to the body to decide, yes, we agree with the petition or not. You just need to adopt it.
Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to just make a couple of remarks with that. For Stoltz, the petition is not something that forces the hand of the council to say, you have to do this now. Now, to be
Who is
mindful
Stoltz,
of-
the attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to be mindful of the people that are on the petition, that have signed it. It is our job to consider it, and it's up to them to decide if they don't like the way we conducted or the way we think. That's what elections are for, to vote you out. Okay, we don't think you're doing right by us anymore. That's where that comes into play. As Stoltz said, the petition is just to get us to, it's kind of get that mood factor of to get people more in the thought of thinking about changing it, wanting to change it. It's not to say you have to do this. So, what I want to say after that is that, I did see that there was a numerous amounts of signatures. I mean, I acknowledge that there is a numerous amount. Some of them actually don't live in town though.
Are they all legit? That's my question.
Well, and that part.
By the rules of any petition for the city, you don't need to live within the city limits. You need a Bellingham address. And 99% of them was in city limits.
Most of them weren't. There's a couple that don't.
And I told you at the last city meeting I would bring you 20 more. Again, I was requested to have these signed by at least 10 or 12 other individuals, and I told them no, for the simple fact of what I stated at the last meeting, how it was not a fair contest.
Okay. So what I want to do is, everybody, do you want to do a closing remark of a minute, or what your thoughts are, just so everybody has a chance to actually speak?
I would like 1 minute at least.
I would like 1 minute.
Okay. Who would like to go first? You want to go first, Jimmy?
I'll go first.
Okay, start.
Okay, so last year when you came for your variance, you were not issued a variance, right?
There was no vote.
Correct. So you were not issued a variance. That's our right to do. A variance is a tough deal. A variance, you keep talking about just for you. Well, then we got, your neighbor comes with wanting a variance, and then somebody across town comes and wants a variance, and then the next person comes and wants, cause one got it, so everybody wants to get it. You understand that part of it? And this is just my thoughts.
Is that a
This is why
question?
we didn't do a variance last year, my opinion why we didn't. Anyways, so we asked you to do the petition. What the petition was for was just to get the public's, everybody's opinion. If they want it, we'll discuss it. If not, it's not an issue. You got your petition, you brought it here, we discussed it. To close, my time's up, so to close, I'm not saying I'm against chickens. I'm saying this ordinance that was written up by the petition needs a lot of work before we can do it, in my opinion. So that's my statement.
Well, and to change,
And
I'm sorry, to change an ordinance, so you also have to have a resolution, you have to have an open meeting, and it's a lot of legal stuff. It's not just saying we're changing it.
Do you want to do a closing one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay, I'm not against the chickens, 100%, I'm not. I'm against the fact of how things are done, that don't even, how you went about it. No building permit for your chicken coop, stuff that you're not following the rules for that. So that makes me think you're not gonna follow the rules for the chickens. I personally could care less about the chickens, if it's kept up and it's clean and everybody follows the rule, but there's always that one, excuse my language, jackass that won't. I'm not saying it's you by any means, because I'm not. I'm saying somebody will always break the rule. We have it going on right now with other stuff in town. So, that's all I have to say. I'm not totally against the chickens. I just don't think everybody's gonna follow the rules.
Mark, do you want us to finish and then you go last, or how would you like to do it?
I can go, I'll go last. Go ahead, please,
Okay.
please. Then I can give input on
Ryan
that.
or Linda want to do a closing remark?
No, I just had a question on the number of chickens, that's all.
Okay, well, yeah, go ahead and ask the question. I want to be
Where
respectful.
the number 9 came from?
10?
Chickens, yeah.
The number
10.
10.
10.
Basically, I took my size family of 6. We consume easily a dozen eggs a day. When you have a resident that lives by themselves, they may choose 10, they may just choose 1 or 2 for their size home. The number 10 specifically came from because the chicken on average lays about 1 egg a day, sometimes less. So on average, you get out of 10 chickens, you're gonna get 6 to 8 eggs a day, give or take a little bit, depending on the day and light time and hours such as that.
Okay, because, I've been kind of looking at some ordinances for other towns, and 10 is a big number. I'm seeing 5 as a maximum.
Some towns have 6, some have 7.
Madison has 7.
Yeah.
5 just seems to be
Several
about the
towns are
average
unlimited.
number, so
Minneapolis or St. Paul is unlimited. That's pretty mind-blowing,
Which
isn't it?
brings me out, I can't imagine that with the.
Not my closing statement, but there's a reason to that. When they went over their petition in Minneapolis, in fact, this came up several years ago, there was a lot of people that wanted some backyard chickens, just to go green or whatever the reason being. So the council members were very opposed in Minneapolis. Nope, who's gonna police it, how it's gonna be out of control, we have thousands of people in our community. So what they did is they called their main animal control chief, that he handles all of Minneapolis, okay? And he says, we need a statement from you. What's your opinion about chickens? And the chickens were allowed for 20, 30 years until they actually passed the rules to officially allow it. And his statement, and you can look this up yourself if you Google it, his statement says, in 25 years that I've been the chief animal control agency, I had 1 call on chickens, and it was because the people were in a car accident and they couldn't come home and there was an escape and it was dealt with very quickly. Otherwise, for 25 years, you know what the animal nuisance is? It's dogs and cats. just like this town, dogs are off the leash everywhere and cats are running all the time, you know? And, I mean, I'm just making a comparison there, that's my point to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Brian, did you wanna make one? Okay, I will make one quick, so hopefully I get through it in a minute. As Tammy reiterated, personally, literally, and I've said this to you before, I don't have a problem with chickens. I have cattle. I drive 5.5 miles to take care of them, but I have cattle. I love animals. I grew up on them. So literally, chickens are not the issue. It is the enforcement of stuff that, you know, we've been told already doing a poor job of enforcing. When we have tried to do enforcements on certain properties, we were told we had to get a warrant to come onto a property, which by rights the city does have the right to enter your property. I mean, for connection to utilities, for, you know, if you're not mowing lawn, if you have, I mean, we have the right to inspect certain things. So if certain individuals have already said that we need a warrant to go on properties, it just sounds like more of a headache to deal with than this. And then the manpower, which you were just talking about in the cities. They have a chief enforcement animal control or whatever. We don't have that. It's literally individuals that are elected and basically volunteering their time to do it. That's my concern, is the lack of being able to enforce things, stuff like that. Like I said, don't have a problem with chickens, grew up on a farm, have cattle. So that's all I got. So Mark, I will start a minute whenever you're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Well, boy, who to address first? It's really Jim's and Mayor Randy's questions and concerns. What Jim was describing about a variance, and what was said at a previous meeting also, if one's got to be good, one's got to be for the other. No, that is incorrect. When it comes to a variance, it is an individual asking for an exception to the rule, and it's up to the council to decide if that exception to the rule is applicable or not. And at that point, it's regardless if the neighbor or the person across town wants the same or not. That's why a variance is to an individual person. You can't just believe, well, if we give it to a variance, how do we say no to someone else? It's because you say no to someone else. That's how you do it. You say no because there's applicable reasons to say no. If there's no justification to say no, then what's wrong with giving a similar variance to someone else? There isn't. If the variance, so to bring that up. And then the other half of your statement, Jim, you basically were describing a dictatorship. You were,
Okay.
No, wait, you're violating my rights now.
No, we are allowed to stop things if it gets out of hand. and that
What's out
works.
of hand because you don't like what I'm
We had our
saying?
discussion and the time limit is up.
What part of, why
You-
isn't it a dictatorship?
Why did you get 3-4 minutes of time to give your closing statements? I
Okay,
agreed
we'll
to
give
1
you-
minute, but
No, we'll give you
And
3
you
more,
had two
but
now, so.
if it gets out of hand, I will stop it.
if it's getting out of hand, you're deciding that because I'm talking peaceably here.
So your minute's going, you might.
Yep,
wanna-
let's,
What you're describing as a dictatorship. When the public as a whole speaks for something and wants something to the elected officials that are hired by the public and chosen by the public to do something, it is up to those officials to follow through with the public. And not to say, well, since the sitting members don't like or dislike or don't agree with something, then we're just not gonna do it. What you're describing is, what you basically said, if I understood you right, is it's regardless of what the public says and what they want. We will talk about it and decide what's best for the public, regardless if the public wants that. And I may have misunderstood that, but that's what I thought you said. And,
That is our job.
and then to Randy's point, some of the things you just mentioned, you have more information available to this body on how to run the city correctly and legally. Randy, you were just citing that people have told you and informed you that you might need a warrant, and now you're confused if you truly need a warrant or not. That is bizarre to me. when there are very stringent laws. The 14th Amendment is called procedural due process. Our due process rights by the state itself. You must notify someone, even for service work. You do not have the right to enter anybody's property at will like I believe you just claimed you did. You said for mowing the lawn, you had the right to go on there and mow the lawn, and I believe you were stating in the sense without notice.
No, there's a notice sent out every year now. Like,
So a once.
before it used to be a one-time letter, we do like the city of Madison does, and we send out an annual letter at the beginning of the mowing season. This is what it is.
So can I have that time back that you just said?
Yep, you can have 10 seconds.
Okay. Now, you said with the one statement a month, I'll use the water bill. You put it on our water bill that says, this is your one and only notice. If you fail to pay by such and such a date, you will be disconnected, no ifs, ands, or buts.
I'm gonna have to interrupt again. Let's stick to chickens. I'm
You
sorry.
deviated from chickens by saying some things, and this is not contention, this is my closing statement. This is very confusing how this body operates on its own agenda. You know, there are very stringent rules to be following, and if you are deciding the rules, there's a problem. If your attorney, the city attorney, is advising you on the rules, there's a problem. Somewhere there's a problem. And again, you have the material before you. But with my closing statement, finalize that this petition was written the way it was written. It was signed by more than 3 times what was multiple times told me was 7 people needed to sign a petition, regardless of legal fees or changing an ordinance. And what Tammy said about changing an ordinance was something very different. That's if, as a body, you choose to change an ordinance. That's when Tammy's statement applies, not when there's a petition brought to you. When a petition is brought to you, it is your duty to.
I'm gonna have to.
You just shut me down?
It's our duty to discuss it.
We're gonna have to, just so we can be mindful of everything else. And you've already made that statement before, and we've talked about it. You've made the statement before about a petition. As mentioned, the petition is not meant to say you have to do this now. It's up to the council to feel more motivated, saying, hey, we really need to think about this, consider this, you know, there's people behind it. The council still, as individuals and voting members representing the town, have the choice of whether or not they feel motivated or that, yes, we should create change and change this. That's what Stoltz even presented last time about a petition. So, that's why I'm cutting you off, because it's just starting to repeat. So, with that said, is there a motion or anything to proceed going further into changing an ordinance or anything like that, based on our conversation?
Can you do a resolution? Because a resolution is only good for 1 year, basically.
It's more of a temporary thing.
Yes. Can you do a resolution to test the waters and see how it goes? I mean, you know, to allow them to have 10 chickens or whoever. Resolution has to be brought up for an open meeting, and if no one, you know, has any arguments, then, I mean, I'm not saying this to you, I'm just saying, is this something that you want to consider? I'm just writing it all down.
I can make the ask to Stoltz if that's something we want to, you know, give a trial period for something. I mean,
In my opinion, again, based off of fact, this petition was written the way it was written. It was signed by the public, and it should not deviate by any means. Again, hindsight, it could have been written differently. The city could have worked on it with individuals, but it was chosen not to. I appreciate the idea of putting forth a temporary run like that and the willingness, but again, I strongly will hold to the way the petition is written, because this is not my petition no longer. This is the town's petition, signed by the people of this town.
No, the petition is different than the ordinance. So petition is what we just talked about. Ordinance is literally, the rules to abide by in town. And they have to follow state and local statutes, whatever. And so just having somebody write an ordinance saying this is what it is, that don't fly anyways. I would never sign something that the lawyer didn't review. I would never sign anything that didn't have, okay, is it gonna break a state law or whatever?
Check with League of Minnesota Cities, you have that to your
No, I'm just
advantage.
saying that. And just because it was written this way, the council has the right, if they wanna move forward with chickens, to develop their own ordinance. And then this, then you have the public hearing to discuss it, see what it's going for, stuff like that. It's just not individuals in town.
You're
saying, hey,
very
this is it.
correct if the body originally wanted to do this. 100% correct. If the body, no one brought chickens to you, and the body says, you know what, let's talk about chickens. It's been brought up enough, let's talk about changing the ordinance. 100% correct that way. But at this point, there has been a petition formed, it has been signed, and it has been brought to you.
I'm just gonna refer to what Stoll said last meeting. And at this point,
If we're ready for a motion.
anybody have a motion to make a change, or I will follow up with what Tammy's question was, Stoll's.
I mean,
But is there any motion to make a change tonight?
Can I ask for something then in the meantime? Grant me a variance for my chickens that I currently have, and I'm a lawbreaker as of right now, I admit that. And I stated why and my reasons behind it at the last meeting. May I have a variance in the meantime until this is resolved?
a variance has to be approved by your neighbors.
My neighbors were here in April of 2019. My only adjoining neighbor, which is Sharon and Bernie Kirchberg, said yes. When the clerk went around the table and said, you have 4 of your neighbors here, and all of them said yes.
That's not tonight, though.
No,
Those same neighbors have signed the petition as well. So that is tonight, yes. They are in agreement.
well, I'm not mentioning names, but from what I hear outside of a meeting, I hear differently. So, and personally, I don't feel moved, because I think it's just going to be a bigger hassle than what it has already been. I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem with the chickens, it's this whole enforcement. I guess right now, I'm not moved to change anything personally.
I honestly agree. Again, I don't have problems with chickens, it's the enforcement.
So,
And I will not vote for this ordinance. I'll tell you that now.
and I'm not up for granting variances. Most of the time, the variances that we've ever done is, okay, I'm this close to my property line. Is my neighbor okay with it? I didn't go by the actual percentages of what you're supposed to do a setback or whatever. That being said, I'm not for a variance personally.
I'll agree with that.
Does anybody want to motion any of either a change or a variance for Mark? If not, we'll consider the topic closed for the time being. Okay.
I'll finish up with a 10-second statement, and then we'll exit so you can continue your business with city matters. At this point, seeing in the direction of this body council, I have no confidence in this body council. I feel that there is corruptness, and as of right now, currently as of tonight, I am peacefully protesting this body council, and I'm well within my right to do so. And I believe that you are violating the will of the people by not including this into law. And if I'm found wrong in that, then I'm found wrong. But as of tonight, I strongly believe you're violating the will of the people by not doing this.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.